What's up guys, Colin from Built to Wander. I've got my Jeep Wrangler 392 Final Edition down at 3D Offroad, and we are getting ready to transform this Jeep with this laundry list of parts that surrounds me. We are gonna take you guys through every step of this build, so make sure you like and subscribe, follow along, and let's get started. All right, so I am stoked to be down at 3D Offroad with Matt Thompson. Matt, it's been a little bit since we've got to hang out. I think we needed a break after the couple builds we brought to SEMA this year, but really excited to put this Jeep together for Easter Jeep Safari. So it's been a minute since we built something for EJS.
Yeah, so we started out with 50 shades. You know, we got that one all dialed in, you know, after we did that Terraflex long arm and Terraflex axles on that one. Then we did Triton, the first stage of that build.
Yep.
And then we did your dad's Silver Bullet.
Yeah,
so,
and I think the common theme with most of those Jeeps, Triton was a little easier because it was a simple build, but yeah. 50 Shades, my dad's, we waited way too long to start them.
Yeah.
So we were like jamming all night for days on end, just trying to get them out the door. With this build, we have a good month ahead of us.
Yes.
We do have a full build. As you can see, there's a ton of parts surrounding us. But I want to start by talking a little bit about what we are doing with this Jeep and then kind of how we plan to go from stock to rock for Easter Jeep Safari.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
you know, I mean, this is a great platform already. All these upgrades are mainly to get us to that next level. With the 1 tons, the 40s, you know, that all takes that extra stress and the load, these better shocks, just, you know, that faster driving that we like to do. Really, it'll just take all of these components and really dial them in. You know, the body armor is just going to protect the body that much more. We don't like to smash them in, but in that occasion that you slide off and catch into something, at least you're not totaling out the whole side of the car. So we're going to start off with body armor, really get that stuff dialed in so that we can get it sent off to paint, because it's going to take longer. We can do these other things as we're waiting on that stuff. So I'll be super excited to get started on the body armor and then work on the suspension and then get the accessories done.
And I do want to say, we are doing what I would say is a bit more simple build on this. You know, I feel like we pushed the envelope with the last few Jeeps, specifically my last 392, full custom fabrication, everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wanted to go back to something that was a little bit more drivable on the day-to-day. And if you think back to Triton, you know, that still goes everywhere with us on the trails.
Absolutely.
It performed just as well as my 392, but Triton was a bit more simple. And so kind of what I'm going to do is a similar build to Triton as far as the rock jock short arm. Instead of coilovers, we're gonna do just a nice bolt-in shock from Bilstein. But I am trying to make this Jeep a little lighter weight than my previous build. So that's why we've done all aluminum armor from Savvy, and we'll get into that more.
Yeah, I mean, the drivability of that stuff and, you know, the maintenance of that stuff that it takes, you know, coilovers, there's time in tuning, there's time in all of, I mean, getting the diffs fluids changed out, you know, I mean, just there's a lot of things benefits to doing what we're doing now.
Right.
Where it just makes that daily, like you said, and you can just enjoy it and not have to worry about all that maintenance stuff.
Right. The goal is to keep it out of the shop as much as possible and on the trail. So like Matt said, we're going to start with this first episode, get all the factory armor off the Jeep, test fit all the Savvy armor. We've got front and rear bumpers, rock sliders. We've got a license plate delete plate for the rear tailgate. And that way we can pull that stuff off, send it to paint. It'll be at paint for a couple weeks. While it's at paint, we'll tear this chassis down to the ground and then start bolting up these new Currie 70 axles, the rock jock short arm, the Bilstein shocks. We've got steering upgrades from PSC. We've got some accessories, worn winch, Baja Designs lighting, 40-inch Nitto tires, 17-inch KMC wheels. The list goes on. I'm stoked to get started. I can't wait to see this thing come together, and I'm excited to start wrenching with Matt.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. So starting off, ripping all the factory armor off the Jeep. So we got the front bumper off, which came with the winch kit from Mopar. So we got that off. We pulled the sliders off of each side, and then we got the rear bumper off as well. We started fitting up the Savvy rear bumper. We've got the license plate delete plate on the tailgate. So we're gonna pick this back up in the morning. We'll get the Savvy front and rear bumpers put on. We'll do their sliders, and then once that stuff's all test fit, we'll go from there. All right, so second day on the 392 build, picking up where we left off. Matt's got the rear Savvy Offroad bumper here, and he's marked up some spots where we're actually going to cut this out. That way we can put in a S2 reverse flush mount light from Baja Designs. Yep. That'll give us some nice backup lights coming out of the rear bumper. And I'll actually show you what that looks like. So we've got the Samuel LJ in the shop, getting a whole slew of upgrades. It's got a Savvy front bumper up, up there. And then in the rear, very similar to what we're putting on the 392. And you can see those S2 Pros flush mounted. That's exactly how it'll look. So it'll be really nice and clean. Great way to integrate the Bajas. And once we get those in, we'll probably get that thing mounted up, and then we'll start working on the front bumper and the sliders. These are probably for up between the slider and the body, my guess is. Nice little steel. Damn, these things are heavy duty. Gonna be badass. I have no idea what side is what. We'll find out. Savvy makes a bolt-on version of their rock sliders and also a weld-on version. We did the weld-on version. In my experience, the weld-ons just tend to hold up to abuse and they don't get into the body as much as the ones that bolt in. So I wanted to go that route. So these are the brackets that will weld to the frame. These are gonna be really nice. Wonder why it's, oh, it's tighter because of the, oh, the bracket, the D-ring cocks in, so you might have to rotate it. Looks normal to me right here, this gap. All right, so we've got the Savvy Legacy rear bumper installed. We've got to do some minor drilling here on the actual frame.
That's just to make that wire clear. You know, when we put it up in there, it actually touches this frame right here. So we'll drill a small hole. That way that wire won't chafe or, you know, rub a hole or rub itself raw or anything and short out.
On the Bajas.
Yeah, on the Baja lights.
Yep. And then the other thing we've got is some armor here for the tub. So these pieces will protect the corner, and then there's this piece that goes down the middle, and that'll, honestly, it kind of cleans up the gap here between the bumper and the body. So we're gonna
ties all that together nice.
Right, so we'll pull this rear bumper back off, get these nuts inserted into the body, do one final fit, and then we're good with the rear. All right, so the Savvy Legacy rear bumper is complete back here. We're gonna go ahead and take this off the vehicle now and get it sent to paint. But before we do, I kind of wanted to touch on some of the benefits. First of all, it's all aluminum construction, extremely lightweight. It weighs a fraction of the factory steel rear bumper that came off of this. We've modified it to accept some Baja Designs S2 reverse lights that'll be flush mounted. They're gonna look super clean. It's got a recovery point that's tied into the factory frame rails, so that'll be nice in the event that we need a tug. We did have to modify the factory frame rails. You basically have to cut off the lower corners in order to get that bumper nice and snug where it wants to be. But as you can see, the departure angle here is gonna be significantly improved from stock. We also added these lower trim pieces. These are aluminum as well, but they'll protect the tub around the corners here. And they also kind of provide like a nice finish look to me. And as far as the gap here between the body and the bumper, it looks cleaner with that trim. We're gonna have the trim painted to match as well. And yeah, overall, super stoked on this. It's definitely gonna help us keep things lightweight, which allows us to maximize performance. And I'm really excited about what we got here from Savvy. This is the Savvy front skin. This thing is so lightweight. Underneath the skin is where the strength and the magic happens. This is the winch plate. So we'll add our worn Z onto this. And then we've got the front hoop, which will look really nice on this thing. Right. Those are kind of the three made pieces. And the goal is to get those test fit today. So we are working on the Savvy Legacy front bumper, and as you can see, the strength of the bumper comes from this winch plate that integrates into the factory frame rails. We've got a Warren Xeon XD10S, which is what this winch mounting plate was designed around, and it is just up against the grill. There's maybe 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch of adjustability. Inch, yeah. So we're gonna pull this winch plate off, clearance out the holes for mounting the winch, just to pull it forward just ever so slightly. And then from there, we'll get the bumper on and mock up our lighting from Baja Designs. And then we're pretty much done up front. We can All right, so we got the front bumper, the Savvy Legacy front bumper installed. Honestly, I thought it was a little easier than the rear.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little easier. Everything fit really nice. The winch is really close, but it's a big giant winch, so.
Yeah. So it was designed around the Xeon XD10S, which fits like a glove. It's maybe like a hair off the grill. So nice job clearancing that. And then Matt, what'd you do up on the bumper, the bar up here?
Yeah, so we decided to fabricate a bracket to fit 5 of the squadron lights up here instead of doing a light bar. So we just fabbed up this little bar. I've got a couple little gussets to add in. We'll get it pulled off of here and get it all burned in.
Yeah, and the reason why we did that was we were sitting here thinking about how we wanted to do our Baja Designs lighting, and we actually got some lights that we decided we're gonna send back to do something slightly different. So what we're gonna do is mount up some squadrons on the corners here, like so. These will be tied into the factory fog lights. So we're gonna do the SAE squadrons, and those will be factory fogs and amber. And then we're gonna run 5 squadron sports across the top like so. 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll have a mix of amber and clear. We'll do spot and combo.
Yeah, combo floods, and that way it gets us a wide variety of, you know, wherever you're at. And
yeah, so we'll hit some different lighting zones that way. We'll hit, you know, we'll have the spot, the wide cornering with the fogs, and then
those are
combo.
DOTs, so those are nice. You can just run those anytime.
So yeah, so now that this is done, Matt will final weld this plate that he added to the bumper hoop, and then we'll pull this off, and it'll be ready to go to paint with the rear bumper. While Matt's working on the front bumper, I'm gonna start working on the sliders. So we powder coated the brackets that get welded to the frame. Now where they meet the frame, we're gonna have to grind these down a little bit so we can get a nice clean weld. We'll also have to do that on the frame. But what I'm gonna do is just bolt these to the sliders, and then with Matt's help, we'll lift this slider up in place, kind of see, get it to where we want it. That way we can mark kind of where these really need to be welded to the frame, and then from there, these brackets weld on, the slider bolts to them, and you're done. It sounds more simple than it probably is, but I'm hoping it goes smooth. All right, this thing's really starting to look like a Jeep now that we've ripped off all 4 factory fenders. That is a terrifying sounding process. You literally just have to rip them off. There's all these clips that are left behind. They shatter into pieces, and it sounds like you're in the middle of warfare and shrapnel's coming at you.
Pull the wire easy.
But now that that's done, we've got some aftermarket fenders, aluminum fenders from Rebel Off-Road that we'll be installing. However, that will be coming at a later date. Tomorrow, we're gonna focus on getting the weld-on sliders from Savvy Offroad installed, and that'll wrap up all the test fit of the armor. Like I said, we do have the fenders and inner fenders. We'll do those next. Eventually start tearing off all the factory suspension. So excited about the progress we've made in 2 days. Can't wait to keep wrenching, and looking forward to what's to come with 3D Off-Road.
All right, so we got the sliders all installed. We bolted all the brackets together after we powder coated them, mounted them up to the frame, and we ground all that down and then welded those all in. While they're cooling, you don't want to pull these off right away. That way, if anything decides to move while it's heating and cooling, you don't want to mess that up. So we left it all together. We're about to pull these off and get them ready to powder coat.
All right, so we just wrapped up all the test fit of the Savvy Off-Road armor, just completed the front and rear inner fender liners. These came together really nicely. We've got them mocked up. We've had to do some drilling up front and add some nut zerts to get those positioned. And the rear, they were entirely bolt on, so pretty easy. Matt Thompson also helped get the weld-on rock sliders in place, and those have now sat for a couple hours, so they're nice and cool. So basically next we'll tear all this stuff off and get that sent to paint. And while that stuff's being painted, we'll be working on other areas of the build. All right, there you guys have it. All of the Savvy Off-Road armor has officially been test fit, which means we can pull it off, send it out to paint. And next up, we'll be tearing apart the chassis. So we'll be taking off all the factory suspension, the factory axles to make way for some pretty rad upgrades that we have coming up. So drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think of the Savvy Off-Road armor and how this build's taking shape so far. And as always, hit the like button if you did and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on.